We're going to start our two different types of peas today, and it's currently the 15th of February, and it's actually quite a bit colder than these are necessarily going to like. So if you are in Northern England or above, then I would definitely suggest that you wait maybe another 2 weeks until the temperature is that little bit more kinder to us. Or if you are wanting to sow them now and get that early sowing in, then it may be worth taking them in the house until they germinate and then bringing them straight back outside as soon as they have. We are sowing them early really to avoid the pest damage that can happen in certain months. So we want these to have flowered and to be starting to pod before we have those issues. So starting them early is going to give us less chances of problems, and it is definitely worth it because I know I have the problems here. If you don't have those problems or it's just too early for you to get going, then you really want to get these in by April, but you could definitely wait till mid-March quite happily. I'm going to be doing another sowing of these myself around mid-March. The reason that I'm going to do that is because we have a puppy that is going to be able to get into these beds, and he is enjoying digging and pulling things up. So that's going to give me a second load of seeds that will be absolutely fine and still miss those issues with the bugs. So today we're going to do the dwarf variety, Kelvedon Wonder, and then also a sugar snap variety, which is called Magnolia. Peas are also quite hardy, so if you haven't got anywhere under cover that is particularly very warm, then past the germination stage they should be absolutely fine. So if you've got quite a cold area, so at the moment I think it's about 5 Celsius in here, which is a little bit too cold really for these seeds, and it's usually a little bit warmer, but we haven't really seen much sun at all. So I'll be making sure that these go on a little bit of heat just to help them germinate, because they normally want to germinate from around 10 Celsius. So they are going to have that little bit of advantage. So if you want to take yours in the house and then germinate them, and then they should be absolutely fine taken to one of the little flimsy greenhouses that you can buy, or into a polytunnel or a greenhouse. They will want that little bit of protection, and don't forget that the mice do absolutely love these seeds. So if you are going to germinate them outside, it is really important that you either cover them with something that's going to stop the mice getting to them, or that you set some traps to catch any mice that do try to have them as well. So the very first thing I'm going to do is start sieving some compost. I'm not going to sieve it as fine as I did, say, for the ones that we did the other day, which were the chilies, just because these seeds are larger, so we shouldn't actually need it to be quite as fine as we did the other day. So we're just going to take out those larger bits. This is a brand called Durston's multi-purpose compost. It's peat-free. I will only use peat-free personally, and it's of good quality. I always make sure that I have newer compost at this time of the year, because if it's older, then you're going to find that it's going to have more fungus gnats and things like that, which is maybe less of a problem for these peas that are going to spend a very small amount of time inside. But older compost that's wet, damp and horrible isn't very good. And then I'm just going to be using these trays that would have had plants in them when you buy them from the garden centre. I get people that drop them off and they'll be perfect for peas. So we're just going to fill the cells and then just fill back over the top again. I'll put details in the caption of other peat-free compost that I use and that I found helpful. It's a question that I get asked all the time, and it's obviously very frustrating if you spend your money on compost and then it's actually no good. And we're just going to grab ourselves a little pokey tool and just make a spacing up to sort of the first nodule is good, which is about the first part of your finger, so just under an inch maybe. Probably tell by now I'm not very good with my calculations of when it comes to lengths, and I also go between centimetre and inches, so I'm trying not to do that. I apologise. That gets it a bit annoying. These seeds were built in 2024. One of the things that we will find with pea seeds is if they are too old, then they won't germinate. But they did germinate for me at the end of last year. So hopefully they'll be fine. But if you do find that your seeds don't germinate very well, then there's plenty of time to sow some more. So don't worry about that. I don't pre-soak them. You can do if you want to, but if you do, just do it for an hour. If we soak them for too long, you may find that it can end up rotting the seeds. And then we're just going to pop, for this size tray, 2 seeds into each of these cells. And then we're just going to pop a little bit more compost over the top. Spread that over. And then we're going to water them from the bottom. Keep an eye on the weight of your tray, particularly with your peat-free compost. Peat-free compost can be very different. These look very similar to normal peat compost. Some of them are very like small shredded pieces of material, and they are very, very light. And then you can also have like coco coir, which is a very different medium again. So by keeping an eye on the weight of the tray, that's really going to help us to understand whether or not it needs watering again. We shouldn't really expect to see these need watering before they have germinated. Don't forget to label your tray as well. My labels have got wet, so that's not helping. And then we're going to do exactly the same for the next variety. This is the magnolia seeds that are going in this one. Once again, these ones were actually bought at the end of last year. Hopefully the germination will be all right, but I will have time to put fresh in if need be. So this is the tall variety that I'm putting in now. If you aren't doing a succession sowing, it is always worth making sure that you've got more plants than you need. These are some of the first plants that we're going to put out quite often. So what we don't want to do is find that the slugs just have a field day and then we've left it too late in order to get more in, depending when they have gone in. So sowing those few extras just gives you that little bit more protection than it would otherwise. We shouldn't need to pot these up, but for any that I don't plant out, then it is fine to do that at a later date, but they shouldn't need that before they actually are ready to go into the garden. And then I have another variety that isn't going to be part of the grow along, but I just wanted to show you these and this sort of setup. This is the first time that I'm actually trying these, but people seem to be really liking how these do. I'll put the link in the caption of the lady that came up with it, so you can have a look at her information as well. But the idea is that it saves a lot of space compared to the tray. You can sow the seeds quite densely, and then you can unroll the roll and add a little bit more compost without disturbing those roots. It was also going to give us the depth that we don't get in the pots, so that's handy for certain seeds as well. You can see these are quite different type of seeds, and I'm going to be sowing these quite thickly into this little snail and spread them out as I go along. And I'm just going to grab a little pokey tool and just pop these so they're in good contact with the soil, and then add a little bit of compost to the top. There we go. So there's quite a few seeds in that one roll, and then I'm just going to pop some compost over the top to cover them up. And that's those ones done. Just going to wait for the label to dry before I can label those ones. So that's had a good soak now, and these are going to go into the trays and then a dome over the top, because they're going to go on a heated bench in the polytunnel. So by popping the lid over the top, it's going to keep it away from any of the rodents that might cause us any issues. Pop them over, and these fit quite well, so they shouldn't be able to come off too easily. And then for now, we're going to shut the vent. We will have a look at these ones again once they start to germinate, and that germination might be faster depending on the heat that you've provided for them or if you've just kept them outside in a cold greenhouse, they will germinate eventually. So if you don't have heat, don't worry, you can leave them outside in a cold greenhouse for now, and especially if you're doing it in a gutter or something like that, then that's usually the only option that you'll have. If you haven't got lids that securely fit and therefore should be able to keep the mice out, then another option would be to pop them in like a mushroom basket and hang them like we did the sweet peas, and then the rodent shouldn't be able to get to them and cause us any more issues. Do let me know if you have any questions and share some pictures of what you've sowed as well.